Hope everyone is doing all right. Good evening, at least for me. Recording this 17th of August, and I was just watching the news. I went to several channels, and I saw the statements by Zelensky and also von der Leyen about the summit and about their conclusions and what they are going to do next and whatever. And of course, they said what everyone knows: you can't have peace without first Russia stopping the aggression and going back to their borders. And thirdly, the Ukrainian constitution does not allow the state to simply sell out their territory, amongst other things. Okay, they explained it all. They explained they were going to talk with Trump, whatever good that does. And they were also talking about other stuff. I also saw other videos where other European leaders were gathering. They were saying what to do. But the issue here is not that. Okay, if you watch the news, you all know what happened. The issue here is the comment section. And what I found is that the trolls, the Russian supporters, they continue to repeat the same narrative they did, I don't know, before the war. They continue with the issues of the security guarantees for Russia. They continue with the same shit about NATO expanding. They continue with the same talk, the same narrative, the same calling Zelensky corrupt, calling everyone corrupt except themselves. Okay, and I find this very sad, because do you think we believe in your shit? Do you really think? Do you really think it's even relevant what you are talking about or whatever? Because I frankly don't understand it. Okay, of course I'm not going to show the video here because naturally I cannot, let's say, give me a minute. I cannot exactly show other people's contents here. Okay, sorry, just turning something off. A tab. But what I find ironic is that these people think we believe in that narrative. Russia was never going to invade Ukraine. Okay, this is what they say. But they needed to have guarantees of peace. And the guarantees of peace was to have a corrupt government just like they have in Russia and a dominated Russian government. This is their idea of peace. And then they say Ukraine was going to invade Russia. Are you crazy? Ukraine, now than ever, needs to be in the EU, needs to be in NATO, needs to be under an alliance that will protect their borders and their interests. And Russia needs to fuck off to whence they came because they don't know how to play well with others. In fact, Russia is the one that has some territories to return to its rightful owners. And we know what territories those are. Half of Finland is in Russian hands. They should return it. Kaliningrad, they should return it. They stole lands from the Poles and then stole land from the Germans to give to the Poles. They should return the lands they stole from the Poles. For example, they should return the Caucasus Republic's territories. They should return Transnistria. They should return all those territories. Okay, they should let go of their republics that they occupied illegally too. If we are going to start like this, we should really do this. Okay, let's do this. Let Russia return what it stole. Why not? If we are going to be fair, if we are going to be righteous, Kiev was civilized when the Muscovite, which is the real disease here, when the Muscovite hunters were still selling carcasses on the ice during winter and still did not know the virtues of having a daily bath. And Kiev already had a civilization, already was known in Europe, already was considered a kingdom, already existed. And I think this is the something that has tormented a lot of Russian governments. Their complex of inferiority towards other Europeans and towards Ukrainians. I remember I really like history, okay? I like to read history. I like to understand history. I like to look at facts and not fiction. Fiction, I like Stephen King and whatever. That's fiction, okay? Or science fiction books. That's excellent. But when it comes to facts and history, I want facts, okay? I want the truth. I don't watch shit and narratives digested by people that are talking about with other interests in their idea. And what I know is this: a traveler going by train in the Russian Empire in the 1800s, 18 something, he noticed this. In the Baltic states, in Poland, and in other regions of Russia, people spoke their own languages, and only when they were talking with the soldiers that were always in the train or some kind of official, only then they would speak one or two words in Russian. But they will always speak in their own languages, in Polish, whatever. And there was no issue about it, okay? Russian soldiers didn't do nothing, they didn't care. Some of them even understood what they were saying and they talked with them, okay? This is an actual report, okay? I won't tell you where to find it. I will tell you to Google it or to go to YouTube and make a research about it. Because I think you need to do that legwork in order to understand how research really works. Okay, it's not just watching a video and punching a couple of shit in a keyboard and then, oh, there it is, I made the research. No, it doesn't work like that. Okay, if I was you, the first thing I would do is go to a dictionary and see the definition of what research and fact checking is. This is what you should do. Start from the beginning. But carrying on. He then noticed that when they reached Ukraine, every time they heard an Ukrainian peasant, so to speak, or anyone speaking in Ukrainian instead of Russian, the soldiers will relentlessly beat the people down and even shoot them. They would treat them like shit just because they were speaking their own language that is older than Russian language, than the Russian dialect. This is nothing new. Ukrainians and Russians are not the same. Even the Ukrainians that speak Russian and that live in the eastern part of the country, they are not Russians. They are not a part of a so-called Russian world, because that Russian world was always artificial. It was always bounded by blood and oppression. And I'm not saying other European countries are better. I'm not saying all other European countries are without sin. But the difference here is that we write in our history our sins. We don't turn it into mythos. I know perfectly well that one of the businesses the Portuguese explorers and engage in was selling slaves. I talked about it. They would buy the slaves from the kings in Guinea. Another thing people that are always talking about racism and slavery, especially in the US, should know that it was black people that sold other black people to first the Portuguese and then the English, the Dutch, and the French, and the Spanish too. Okay? It was black people that sold other black people. So when you are talking about slavery and automatically considering it as a copy of what happened in your country with the slaves in the South and all of that shit and the racism that you still have today, you would be better to shut the fuck up and read a book and understand how slavery happened. And also understand Portugal was one of the first countries to completely abolish slavery. Also understand this. But this is a subject for another video that I'm most certainly going to do. Because I think Portuguese history is very badly represented in English speaking channels, and I want to grab a damn book, okay? Want to grab some instructive videos that are free here in Portugal and talk with people a little about the history of Portugal. But continue on the subject at hand. So you see this attitude, this narrative being spewed out by Russian trolls and Russian and traitors in the West. Traitors, because if you are supporting what is happening in Ukraine right now, and you are European, if you are Portuguese like me, if you are Portuguese German like me, if you are German like I am also half German, if you are any of those things, my friend, you are a fucking traitor to me. You are a traitor. A traitor. A traitor. I will repeat it 100,000 times. Traitor. You are a traitor. You are a traitor to yourself. You are a traitor to the Ukrainians. You are a traitor to every good, honest, decent European in this world. And if you are a good Russian and you don't condone this shit, you are my friend. If you are against what is happening in Ukraine, even if you are stuck somewhere in the middle of Russia, suffering this shit, because I know you are also suffering inside Russia, and if you don't condone this shit, you are also my friend. Know this. As I said in all of my videos, I am not a racist. I am not biased. I am not a bigot, because it's simply illogical to be any of those things. It's illogical. It makes absolutely no sense from a factual, from a scientific point of view, from a social point of view. We have different cultures. Some of us want to preserve our cultures. That is all good, and look, I support that completely. I support controlled immigration. I support controlled access to certain things. I condone that, okay? When it's based, when it has a logical sense in it. But when it goes down and it's simply this racist and stupid idea, you fucking annoy me because it's illogical. It makes no sense. So, all of these trolls that were spewing that shit in the chat, in the comments, they don't understand two things. Number one, people look at their comments and carry on or block them. I blocked a lot. I block a lot of them because I simply don't have the patience to engage in people that are beyond salvation. And number two, they don't understand that what they are doing is creating even more hatred against themselves and against the ideas they support. Because those ideas make no fucking sense. Putin was given all the guarantees that if Ukraine entered in NATO and in the EU, nothing would happen to the borders and nothing would happen to Russia. In fact, you trolls, you like to forget that before Putin decided to occupy illegally Crimea, which is another part of Ukrainian territory that he has to return. Okay, I don't care if it was Khrushchev that gave it to the Republic of Ukraine. I care about the people that are there, and most of them you kicked them out and replaced them already. I know that also. But before that, Putin, he even wanted to partner with the EU, with Europe. But when he saw that he could not do it without giving an amount of freedom to the Russian people and to end the corruption of the oligarchs that supported his position, and he himself being an oligarch, he decided to take it by force. And he decided to follow this route. And this is a route that is going to burn Russia to the ground. And if you think I'm happy about this, then you are a fucking idiot. I am not glad for Russia's demise. I consider the Russians as my fellow Europeans. I consider their culture as a part of the European culture, even with all their defects. Every culture has a defect. But he is burning Russia to the ground. He is killing people senseless. He has mercenaries from all over the world to carry on with this war. He is probably going to recruit more people, kill more people. Their industry is dying. Their economy is dying. And yet he persists. He continues. Just like Trump. Trump is the same shit. Narcissistic people that do not care about their fellow citizens. They only care about one thing, their own pride. And you, all of you in the comments, probably being paid for doing that, for spewing that narrative. You know what you are. I will repeat it once again. Traitors. Traitors. When you die, Odin will send no Valkyrie to take your soul to Valhalla. You are going to rot in the earth, in the limbo, in the darkness where you belong. Because you have no honor, you have no self-interest, you have nothing. You are empty shells filled with the narrative and paid to spew it. You bring nothing good to the world. And that is all I have to say. This video, I had to put it out. Goodbye. Let me just breathe in and give myself that